here.
Oh,
Okay.
very cool.
They're possibly Michigan colors or Notre Dame colors, I guess. There was a pair of black and gold ones that were out, were really hard to get. They would have been amazing for graduation day. But
I found a pair of gold sneakers, just gold. And he was like, if I wear black, Chris might still be on the pair. All right, we will call to order tonight's meeting of the ISD 191 Policy Review Committee. Thank you to fellow committee members and for our community that might be joining us. The date is June 20th, 2023, and the time is 5 p.m. We have no new policies, so we will start right in with policies with changes. The first being policy 902, use of school district facilities and equipment, with Stacy Sovine. Welcome, Stacy.
Good evening, Director Alt, school board members. Bringing to you tonight policy 902, making a few revisions just so that it reads a little bit better and is consistent in what's being asked of the Director of Community Ed. We're changing it so that annually the Director of Community Ed will be bringing you reports on the fee rental for the facilities as well as equipment, and also for personnel and what those costs will be. You'll see a lot of crossouts, which actually are crossouts on the addendum, because with the policy, what we're saying is on an annual basis, he or she will be bringing that information to you for board approval, kind of like your student handbook on an annual basis. And then that will be the addendum on the process and the fee rate for that fiscal year. Then the following year, another presentation will be brought to you for fees, which will then update the addendum. But the policy, the way that it kind of was before, was this jumbled, the fees may sit there for 3 years until the next review. You know, and it's like, well, that's not very market-driven in addressing our needs. So we hope that you'll find this to be a little bit cleaner, easier to read, and have information provided on an annual basis that you can approve for the rental and the process. And then that will be the addendum for the year. So those are the changes that we are recommending for 503.
Okay, thank you. Committee members?
Or 902, I'm sorry.
Any questions or comments?
So we're striking regulation 902 in its complete form, right? And replacing it with, or saying now policy 902?
Yeah, your policy stands alone.
Yep.
And so then when Mr. Sellers will come to, once the policy kind of goes through the full channels, he and Kyle will come back in September, more than likely, present the fee schedule, which the board then will take action, approve this. We'll ask for your approval. Then that becomes the addendum, the regulation to your term for the year. And then next June, he'll come back, give you an updated for the new fiscal year.
So all this previous stuff just goes away because it's become the addendum.
Yep.
Do we have a gap issue at all, or we just?
Well, this is the policy in play until you override it.
No, I mean, we don't have he's obviously not coming in front of the board tonight to present the new schedule, so.
No.
Is there a gap in there, or we just assume they will function off of the previous?
Yeah.
Until such time as it
Yep.
isn't updated?
Yep. So again, what's 2 meetings, I believe you'll have with the board, first reading, second reading, and then we will schedule him right away in September.
That's what I'm kind of asking.
Yep.
Okay, got it. All right, I'm good.
So good? Yep. All right, so we will put that on as a first reading. Next, we have policy 214, out-of-state travel by school board members, staying with Stacy.
Yep. Again, this is just the travel. I'm assuming MSBA's attempt was that the mileage rate would be set by the school board, but we have always followed the IRS regulations as far as reimbursement for mileage. And what they may have been intending was the school board would adopt the fact that we are using the IRS regulations. I'm just eliminating the step. It just seems like it should be the IRS, that's what we do. And then just the cross-references are updated as well.
Great. Comments or questions?
No, I think it's fine. I do get a little, I mean, just that, it's fine. If for any reason that gets way out of whack, and historically IRS has always been the basis for that reimbursement anywhere I've ever been, so. But we could always come back and change the policy, so I'm fine with it, so.
All right. So we will put that on first reading, and next we will move to policy 421, gifts to employees and school board members. Stacy.
And the only change is under Article 2, paragraph G, and that is just striking out reflecting the MSBA's proposal or recommendation on this. I'm assuming,
Any reason why they needed to take that language out, or?
well, it just doesn't meet their template. And for whatever reason, this may be already covered under statute, or they may, because you have campaign rights.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
We're
so,
under rules there, that I guess they found that excessive,
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Well, and it could be the change in the individual that reviewed the policies previously versus now and their
Yeah.
disposition.
I'm always on board with tightening up policy language, that's just fine with me, so, yeah.
Okay. Sophia?
I'm good.
You're good? All right, so again, that one will be first reading. Moving right along, we will go to policy 424,
Yep.
license status.
424, just minor updates on just trying to be a little bit more inclusive and contemporary in our language, and that's just reflecting those changes.
Okay, and board members, any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
No.
No? I think I had one. Grammatical. Roman numeral 3, procedure B. Roman numeral 3. The last line of the sentence, of the paragraph, appropriate to their teaching assignment.
Yep.
There's another,
Yep, there's a third one. Yep. Okay.
Other than that, I think we're good. 424 will be on consent. And we'll move on to, looks like it's
Okay.
5095.
Again, 5095 is pretty much the same nature of changes that we're addressing, and those are the only recommendations that we're bringing forward as well.
Committee members,
no.
any questions? No. Okay, that one will go on consent as well. Policy 511, student fundraising.
511, just bringing forward the recommendation, it is, we'd like to move back to presenting our fundraising efforts and doing once a year versus twice a year. A lot of the donations are reported on a monthly basis. Running a full, complete report in the spring is very doable, and you'd get a large picture on what it looks like versus kind of this disjointed two-time snapshot. I think I understand the intent in the discussions that occurred previously with this, but I'm not sure we're really adding much in that to that category.
Okay. Committee members?
Good.
I'm okay, only that, there was specifics, call-outs to the previous language about, and I don't know that it's necessary, I'm just noting that kind of shaped the report, right? So it was talking about timing, purpose, results. I don't think any of that is in the new proposed language. It's more sort of a generic statement of a report, right?
Really, my intent is just to move from 2 reports to 1. The nature of the information that you receive should be very similar. The process for approval will still go through the assistant soup. So we're only just changing, the intent is really only change it from 2 to 1.
Okay, that's fine with me then, yeah.
Okay. So 511 will be a first reading. And we'll go on to 705.1, post-issuance debt compliance policy.
This one is just updating to Director of Administrative Services versus Business Services. And boy, we like to use that phrase a lot in this policy. So,
Any comments or questions? No. Okay, that one will be on consent. Moving along to policy 722, public data requests.
okay, 722 has a lot of changes, and this is reflected from MSBA with all of the different legal updates. I wanted to point some things out. A lot of the language was moved as far as the order in which it occurred. But under 3, paragraph A, B, and C, those are all new language items, okay? And E, then E, G, H, I, and J are new, as well as L and M. The other underline is just same language moved to different ordering within it. The biggest areas that changes are occurring would be on page 722-4, number 2, that is new, as well as Article 6, 7, and 8C. All of that language in Article 9 is all new. So this is reflecting the requirements and clarification that's placed on districts to provide information, what that information looks like, the process on requesting the information, what is public, what is private, what is confidential, up and down the gambit is trying to really get a handle on data request and what is acceptable, what is not acceptable isn't the right word. What is allowable for public entities to provide and what isn't. So they're trying to help with the clarification on this as well and give more detail.
Okay. Great explanation, thank you. Board members, questions?
Well, there's a lot to unpack, and I think, given the potential nature of this, probably just slow our roll a little bit on this and just make sure. I don't have any pre-questions. I just want to review again real quick. So this is all grounded in state statute. Is that correct?
Yes. So they're pulling it out into the policy just to give the board more protection because many districts across the country have been overwhelmed with data requests that are just excessive and quite frankly undoable in many ways. So they're helping to define those parameters according to state statute, call that out, give you those protections up front.
Yeah. So even, well, certainly we're thinking of a third party making a request, but even if, say, hypothetically, a federal agency was asking for something that we didn't want to provide, we would have state protection in theory through this because we're sticking to state statute, correct?
They're typically with either state or federal agencies for legitimate purposes. I'll phrase it as such. We do cooperate with and are expected to.
Yes, but we have to think in hypotheticals, and that's what I'm doing at the moment. All right. All right, I think I'm fine for the moment for this.
Well, and I think it's just an interesting departure. Typically we try not to put statutory language into policy, and with the context that you've provided and that we are aware of, I think having it in policy helps everybody, both the requester and the school district, to kind of have it in one place so that we can refer to it and use that to help explain and to people who might be interested.
I'm sorry, just to return to, under the definition of individual, it makes a distinction between the case of a minor. And then is minor defined in this document, or are we drawing to an external definition of minor for that? And if so, remind me.
Typically, when referred to minors, it is students under the age of 18.
Under the age of 18.
Yeah, once you turn 18, you
We could
get
have
rights.
very like, well, we do have often students of 18, being 18, they would be able to, okay. So just to be clear, under this, the parent or guardian can act as the individual for a minor. It's good, so,
Yes,
okay.
with your cross-references of other
The other one on
policies.
mine, so. Okay.
Under 7, is that the one you're referring to?
E,
Yeah,
3E, it's just definitions.
right up on front, the definitions, yep.
Safia, did you?
I think I'm good. I was just reading the data practices compliance officer, because I read the responsible authority, and so I see that line that that person may be the data practice compliance officer, so I think I'm good.
Okay. So, policy 722 will be first reading. Next, we
Don't want
go,
to push that one through on consent.
nice try. Policy 807, health and safety policy.
We're going back downhill now. So real minor changes, just a real small grammatical action will be taken on page 807.3, otherwise for spelling out section statutes, cross-references along those lines. But this one clearly is just a cleanup, minor cleanup.
Board members, questions, comments?
I'm good. I don't know.
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
807 is consent. And we will go to, looks like 903, visitors to school district buildings and sites, staying with Stacy.
And again, just some cleanup on the legal references and the cross-references. Otherwise, the policy itself, the nature is the same.
And committee members?
Yeah,
Okay, so this will be on consent as well.
Consent.
Oh, actually, I did have a question on that one. Roman numeral 2, general statement of policy. A. Oh. This has parents, and I'm wondering if we want to use caregivers. How are we, do we have a consistent, I don't remember.
I don't either, I don't know.
Maybe if you guys want to look to see,
It's in statute.
is it, or is it statute?
That's what we'll have to look at.
Yeah, you're talking 2A, the first sentence, the part of parents and community.
Yeah.
Um,
Does it have to be parents? Could it be caregivers?
Well, it does, it's not an issue of, let's call it legal rules of the road or letter of the law, because community members is there, that pretty much lets anybody is. I think it's a question of, it's sort of the personal pronouns issue, right?
Yeah.
Same, in the same ballpark as that.
Yeah, and again, if you're not the parent, you're a community member. You're a caregiver there.
think it
It
comes
really,
down to whether we
for me,
want
this is
to-
6 one way, half dozen the other, for this type of a thing, because we still follow the same type of process. I mean, the overall process, if you're coming in and you're planning on volunteering for our school, if you're working individually with the student, or if you're coaching, those are the two that are required by law that you have background checks on, okay? If you are coming in and you're supporting an activity in the building under the supervision of other staff, and you have a child there, one, maybe grandparent, maybe aunt, uncle, whatever, that's coming in saying, hey, I want to be a part of this, it's a very easy process with that. Anything where we start going on field trips or things where you may not be chaperoned or overnight, then we're back into, we require the background checks again, okay? But again, what we're conveying here is, we want the family
Right.
to be involved.
Right.
And if, this is just how you can be involved and what that looks like, so.
And I
Whether it's
guess-
parents or
yeah.
however you want to phrase that, I don't think
I
that's really
guess I
gonna
would,
matter.
I would prefer to use, whether it's a replacement of parents with caregivers or an addition of caregivers, because we do have parents, obviously, and we also have caregivers who are, have the children, aunts and grandparents that have the children living with them, and I don't want them to feel like, oh, I'm not a community member and I'm not a parent. Not that anybody's, I don't know how many people actually look at the policy, quite honestly, but, it's, it's there.
It's a simple enough change,
It's-
if
yeah.
that's what you folks would like.
I think that's appropriate. Again, I don't think it has any impact on the application of the policy. It's more a presentation of language. So I'm fine with that. If
So
we
add
wanna
add caregivers.
Just change parents to caregivers, yeah. that-
Okay.
You have that, Jeannie?
Or just strike parents, add caregiver.
So
Caregivers.
replace parents with caregivers.
Right.
Does that sound good to you? Yep. Okay, awesome.
Do
Thank
you want me to bring that back at our next policy meeting? Okay.
No, that's fine.
This is consent, right?
That would be consent, yep. So then. Policy 904, distribution of materials on school district property by non-school persons.
Yep. Again, minimal changes, just updating for being inclusive and contemporary with our language.
Okay. Board members?
Nothing.
Okay, I think this one goes on consent as well. And policy 905, advertising.
This one here, just kind of simple, moving it back because the school board does make the ultimate decision on the facility component as far as the advertising and what that may look like with this, so.
So I'm a little confused because it feels like we're tying your office up here a little bit, because I don't know how often we have proposed advertising. If you have to wait for a school board meeting to get approval for it,
It's for the 191,
what's that?
Randy. The logo too, right? They're protecting ours.
I mean, does this cover
advertising, too.
all?
Yeah, because it's protecting us too from not.
I'm
using
fine with it, it's just,
191.
like,
Yeah.
even if they want
That's
to
the-
drop
I see what you're asking, so.
a quarter-page ad in the back of some flyer or something, does it have to wait to come to
Yeah.
our attention over here before we
come to
agree to it?
For approval.
No, this wasn't Aaron's.
No, I'm just saying, that's the example.
Oh.
I mean, I get it if you're gonna put a big
Board.
billboard out front of the school, that's one thing, but I'm not sure we have to talk about every.
Although it does say specific advertising must be approved by the superintendent or
Or is it an
designee.
outside entity?
Well, it must be, first be approved.
Yeah.
It would
The
go through
interest
her
of
office first,
commercial
and
or
it's-
not.
It can't really happen, according to this, it can't happen until we approve it.
True.
See, it's the external. I think there's a piece about us too.
Yeah.
To me, it's almost like expense budgets or in my world, discounting on,
Think
there's a
it's
certain level where you guys can just do it and without our
Well,
approval.
I think what we're really trying to get at here is, instead of us suddenly saying, you know what, Teresa, I think I can bring in a lot of revenue by calling this the Target Diamond Head Education Center.
No, I get that, would need to come.
So that's the component that needs the board approval. Can we do the softball fields or the baseball fields or the court? You folks decide, yeah, we don't want to suddenly become a NASCAR symbol with every advertisement. Arranging the deals with different advertisers for the areas that you've approved, that falls back on us, thus the last sentence where the superintendent or designee with the specific advertising. So that comes to us then, once we know the areas you're willing to advertise on.
Yeah, okay.
Take it out.
All right, I'm
Okay.
fine. I don't, yeah, I just, I don't want to make this complicated. I'm not exactly sure that the policy makes that distinction, but that's, as long as we're all fine with the practice, I'm okay with that. It's,
And it may be, you know,
I just don't,
do we need, I mean, we have the policy, do we need some sort of regulation behind it to, I mean, I don't know.
For something along this line, if I need a regulation behind it, then I would rather try to rework the policy for clarity.
Okay.
So
I mean,
thinking of-
because
Well,
it's a
here's the-
two-page policy as far as, and again, I think the way that this is being written as it is right now really is about where do you want advertisements to occur? And what does that look like? If the board says, you know what, if you can get money and generate money, put advertisement everywhere, fine. Then we have the discretion on going out and making those contracts. So nothing's going to be held up. We can then move forward with that.
It's just global, big
Where-
picture,
where do you want
and what
advertisement
kind.
to
Yeah,
occur?
but my
What's
point
your-
Says the site administrator in A will screen all the
yeah,
advertising.
but it also says the final approval needs to be the school board. I guess a real-world example would be
Athletic.
at Mraz, during a show, the booklet, you know, the program in the back, maybe thank you, we'd like to thank our sponsors or whatever. There's some advertising that's been sold in there for whatever, how we're gonna classify it. And let's say hypothetically, one of it is a national chain that's, you know, has on a national level some sort of behavior that someone on the school board doesn't feel like that conforms to the district's desire. They could go to this policy and say, we never approved that advertisement. You
The other
follow me?
example is
Well-
the athletics.
Yeah,
the
same
events.
deal.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you, the scoreboard or what's
Whereas
in
I
the
think
gym.
it should be, we should be able to say, well, fair enough, we didn't approve it, but it falls inside the purview of Dr. Battle's office, and therefore we didn't need to approve it. And I totally get naming this the target, which, by the way, if you can get that done, you know, that's just fine. But,
We are open to any phone calls if
Yes.
anybody at Target is watching.
it used to be like a Cub Foods, isn't it, or a rain, or, anyway, I'm.
An owl.
Owl, oh, that's right, red
yes.
owl, red
I
owl.
never saw it myself, but I've heard of it. Safio, did you have?
It's a grocery store.
So, and again, I don't want to bleed from the forehead on this too much, but to your point, what this is kind of saying is, we believe that we do have the authority to advertise within the sponsors, the bulletins for like the theater. What I'm hearing from you is, we better make sure we're using discretion on who we are allowing to advertise in our areas.
Or I guess if you had a particular case where you thought it might raise to the level of challenge, then bring it to the board for approval. And you would meet the requirements of this policy, I
Yep.
guess. I guess that would, the onus will be upon you guys, your departments to do that, I guess.
And again, I think on the second page, we actually do start kind of going down that path as well, so, yep.
Okay.
So, admittedly, it's been about a month since I looked at this, so forgive me if the answer is in there. Is there mention of not taking advertising funds or promoting organizations that are considered in competition?
C,
See,
if I'm not,
External.
External
competing entities.
competing entities, awesome. I missed it.
Is that what you're
Very
referring to?
Yes,
Yep,
that is
okay.
exactly what I was referring to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Then I think, unless you have, nope. Okay, so I believe that one should go on, we'll put that one on first reading, because I
that's
think
probably a
that
healthy
one,
choice.
yes. And Eric, you had asked my question, so thank you for that. So we will move on to the next policy.
All right.
Policy 412, expense reimbursement for travel.
And this one here, we have no changes. I did that specifically because I know that Dr. Belmont is anxiously awaiting to bring his policy forward, but I have no changes on this one at this time.
Any comments, questions? No. All right. So 412 will be consent. And Dr. Belmont, last but not least,
Good night.
thank you, Stacy. Policy 510, school activities.
I'm afraid I might not be able to match Stacy's animation level, but I'm presenting, or good evening, everyone. I'm presenting School Activities 510. The purpose of this policy is to impart to students, employees, and the community the school district's policy related to the student activity program. And it's just up for renewal. There's no changes to present.
All right, thank you. And board members, questions or comments?
We have a simple matter of semantics. Why was this not under policies with no change? How is it, what, is there a distinction? Why do we have it a different? Oh, no, it is.
No
technically.
change.
It is under there. It's,
No
it's
change.
4.B. Okay, never mind. Just happens to be Dr. Belmont's purview rather than Stacey's. I see.
Yeah, you get the
problem.
500 series.
Yeah. Schools.
You don't have anything?
No change, no issues. No.
Okay. I guess my question goes back to my previous question on another policy, is changing parents to caregivers, since we have those here. I'm trying to remember where I found, let's see. Roman numeral 4, responsibilities, B.
Parents, caregivers in B.
Yes.
You
Yep.
got it.
Line 2 and line 4. No.
Roman numeral 4, letter B.
Looks like there's 2 mentions of parents.
Yep. Oh, yeah, there are. You're right, B and C. Are we okay with changing that to caregivers?
Yes, per our previous conversation.
Okay, awesome. So that does not have to come forward again.
So just to clarify, I think there's 3 mentions of parents, twice in B and 1 in C, changing all those to caregivers.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And we will place that on consent. And I believe. All right. Jamie, do you have what you need? Okay, awesome. Anything else? No? All right, then we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
I actually have just something to bring up for inquiry. If someone may know how to, in fact, we could reach out to, who is it we used for the land? Who's been our shepherd, our assistant in that, in the
Oh, with the facility.
facility stuff, the land purchases with Metcalf and et cetera?
Oh.
Ellers?
Is that Eller?
Yep.
Okay. So there is, my previous employment
Thank you.
was with DTN in Burnsville. And I think somebody should look into this, is what I'm about to tell you about, is we had a building right over here on the Wanda River backing up to the power plant down there. Before I was leaving a year ago, they were preparing to leave that building and put it up for sale. In conversation with somebody over the weekend who's in the commercial real estate business, they said they thought a school purchased it. I can make some inquiries, my
We have
previous,
our one-to-one tomorrow.
okay.
Make sure you.
I'll get you the address and information. I think somebody should maybe do a purchase search or something like that.
Yeah.
They may have
There's a
found their
charter
school.
school
They may
going
have
on.
that one.
It was big enough
Yeah.
to accommodate that.
Where is it again? Because there is a charter school opening by the.